Welcome to this month's Member Spotlight. Meg Burrage is here. Whoop, 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 whoop. How to find other business owners out there in the world.
So without collaborations in my business, there is just no way. All these things that I do in my business all involve Zoom.
When you look at Zoom, how does that change for you? How do you look at it as a strategy?
You can do quite a lot with Zoom, just understanding the basics, right? For me, it's around actually creating relationships with people and getting to know people.
That's what I would love to hear. Hey, you know what? I'm so good at this. I'd like to do this for others.
Everything in my life seems to revolve around Kajabi. It's its own universe.
Zoom is this vehicle for us getting to connect, collaborate, and get our message out there.
You know, you absolutely can do it.
I mean, that's what collaboration is all about. Everyone there is for the same purpose. All righty then. Look, we're live. Hi, everybody.
Hi, Betsy.
Terrific.
Hi, everybody.
Hi. Welcome to this month's Member Spotlight in the Zoom Experts Q&A community.
Mm-hmm. Oh, I'm excited to be here. Thank you for having me.
You need no introduction, actually, but I will anyway. Welcome. I'm Betsy Coyne, and I'm here today with our guest in the Zoom Expert Facebook community group. Meg Burrage is here. Whoop, 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 whoop. I'm going to tell you a little story first about how I came to know Meg, and then we're going to hop right in and talk about what Meg's businesses entail and how she uses Zoom for business and how she creates new business ventures, really. I mean, I know this personally because I get to hear about them on our recent trip, but I'm going to have her tell you all about them, what's coming up, especially about collaboration and the magic behind collaboration and the money making that you can do with that, right? Meg is in my brain these days about, you could contact so-and-so with that and get together and with their genius and your genius. And that's what we're going to talk about today. So the story that goes behind this is Meg and I came to know each other almost 3 years ago. And I'm going to take you back really quickly because I want to tell you all, as we know as business owners, how important it is to connect. And that's really a common theme today as we're talking about how to find other business owners out there in the world and connect with them so that you can gain exposure to what you do so well and match up with maybe what someone else does so well. And together, you actually can further your business ventures just because of knowing one another and working together. And I found myself at the end of 2020. So after the world had shut down, as I say, my world opened up. And I was teaching regularly to an industry that needed to know how to transition from in-person to virtual using this platform. And as I say, I don't necessarily specialize in your industry, but I show you how to use Zoom so that you can teach people in your industry or present to people in your industry. And I help you strategize with that. So you learn how to use Zoom to the best of your ability and all the features. And I wanted to take my training and put it online. And I knew that I needed to learn a platform called Kajabi as my base learning platform. So I Googled it for one moment and couldn't find anything right away. So the next day, an ad came across my social media feed. And within 24 hours, Meg's ad came across my social media feed probably 3 or 4 times. So I always say to her, I need to know your Facebook ad strategy because that worked really well in bringing me to you. And quickly over the next probably 4 months, 4 months, Meg took your training, learned Kajabi, launched my first challenge, put together my online product, my course, Zoom Mastery, and I learned pretty quickly about the world of digital products. But there was more to come because, as I say to Meg, I really didn't know much about online marketing. And and she'll talk more about that as far as my expertise as a tech person, but not necessarily in marketing. And then that came next. And she's taught me about funnels and lead magnets and all that goes along with that. So I'm very grateful that you're here. I'm so grateful that we know each other and that we work together now. And I am so excited for what's to come. So with that said, I would love for you to tell everybody what your business entails, how you came to the online space, because there might be some people here that don't know that story. So tell us first how you came to be an online entrepreneur, a digital CEO, and how you came to use Zoom and what that means to you.
Yeah, I guess I came to the online world because I'd first failed in the offline world. So I'd gone and created a bricks and mortar business that I thought was going to be fantastic. And I opened the doors and I put all this money into a commercial lease, and then basically nobody came. So I was broke, but worse than broke. I was seriously in debt and thought, what else can I do to get myself out of corporate? So I had to go back to work, back to 9 to 5, which I absolutely hated. And so I was just looking for opportunities. What else can I do? What else can I do? And finally, somebody introduced me to James Wedmore and the Business by Design program. And I jumped into that. 3 months pregnant, jumped into that. And he teaches people how to create an online program, how to go about it, the strategy behind it. And I had no idea what I was going to put into an online program. I was I don't know, how maybe something like failings of a startup. I don't know, lessons learned from a startup. I was thinking that was going to be my my online course, but I just went round and round in circles on that for months, trying to figure out what I was going to put in this online course. And creating an online course sounds like such a great idea, and people make it out to sound so simple, but it actually can take a very long time. So while I was trying to figure out what to put in an online course, I started dabbling with Kajabi, figured it out, and then decided to help other people, setting up their Kajabi. And then thankfully, all my clients seemed to ask me the same stuff, over and over again. Basically everybody who wanted to create an online course was on a similar trajectory. So I thought, okay, just going to take all these questions that people have been throwing at me now for the last few months and put all of these questions into an online course. So my clients gave me the content for my first online course, and I went and created a training on Kajabi, which has evolved over time, went from little low-priced beta to several months long high ticket. So it's definitely evolved. And when I look back on how it's been that successful since I started, it really has come down to the collaborations that I've managed to strike up with people since day one. I always think it's amazing when Betsy says she found me via a Facebook ad, and I'm oh, my Facebook ads, my skills in Facebook ads, Betsy, are atrocious. The fact that you found me on a Facebook ad is just amazing. I don't know what I did right that day, but usually I get it totally wrong. So without collaborations in my business, there is just no way I would have been able to grow a successful business. And I just think there's so many people out there who could be doing a much better job of tapping into collaboration, because it's free and it's fun and it just opens up all these great opportunities. So I'm really focused now on helping people do that. I'm probably more focused on that these days than I am on training people on Kajabi. I mean, the Kajabi platform has come a long way, and the Kajabi university's come a long way. There's only so many different ways you can do a tech tutorial, and Kajabi have got a lot of stuff already in their library. I mean, I've still got my Kajabi training, my Kajabi templates, strategic style coaching, but then a project that I started about 18 months ago with Kimmy Brown was training other Kajabi specialists. So that's one of my favorite passion projects, the Heart-Centered Apprentice, because, that's helping other people to grow these amazingly flexible businesses in the Kajabi space. So I love that. And then now I am just embarking on Collaboration Station, which is a whole project in itself. And all these things that I do in my business all involve Zoom. And I was having a look at the questions Betsy was going to ask me, and I was like, the answer for all of these is basically the same. I use Zoom the same way across all of these businesses. So hit me with your questions, Betsy. I've got all the answers.
Yeah, I asked you ahead of time about what we would talk about, and in your describing to us how your business came to be and how a Facebook ad brought you to my attention. However, okay, we'll jump right off that Facebook ad into the fact that the first time I saw you, heard you, was in a Zoom meeting. And I was dazzled right away. First of all, the fact that I'm here in Northern New Jersey and had been working in a brick and mortar, and my audience consisted of maybe a 7 mile radius around this brick and mortar location. And here I was in your Zoom meeting with people all over the world. So Zoom to me quickly became the platform for not only how to gain more exposure, but how to collaborate. It became the way. It was the way. It was the vehicle, because I could literally be on in there, speak like this, which, you gave us the abilities to, not only talk about what we were doing and what our expertise was, but also to meet others. And I recall you needing to learn breakout rooms. And luckily, I was teaching that. So we brought that skill to your skill set as an entrepreneur. And just like you teaching Kajabi, and how that got to a point where it was like, well, I've got all that. You have a vault of videos that, as we say in our line of business, the application changes, and you need to, look to keeping it up to date and making sure people know what's changed. But for the most part, our base becomes asking questions about, well, how would I do this and how would I do that? And that's really how mine changed as well. So when you look at Zoom and now you know how to use it, how does that change for you in terms of looking at the application as a platform and saying, well, I know how to click the link or start the meeting or get on and send out invites, but it's more than that. How do you look at it as a strategy for getting your new business venture out there, like with what's to come? I know you and I had to talk about this, about, gee, how should I use Zoom coming up with this event that I'm having next week? What do you look to make it better in your business?
Yeah. And I mean, you can do quite a lot with Zoom, just understanding the basics, right? Like, you can join the meeting and you can start a meeting and you can kind of faff around with like the screen share and figure out like the basics. And for me, every time I've launched a program, I've done it usually with something like a 3 or a 5 day challenge. And I, put on these free training weeks and people come along. Sometimes there's like upwards of 500 people registered for these trainings. And every day for 3 or 5 days, I will run a training session on Zoom and invite people to come in. I love like a really casual approach to Zoom calls, because for me, it's around actually creating relationships with people and getting to know people. So I've always shied away from like the webinar format, where you jump in and no one can put their face on camera and people can't really, it feels a bit impersonal. That's a word, isn't it? Impersonal? Yeah, it feels a bit impersonal.
Yes.
So, for me, I've always just had like, just jump on the meeting and unmute yourself and ask your questions. So that's worked really well for me. For the training that I've got coming up next week, I'm going to try something a little bit new. I didn't quite go as far as the webinar add-on. What Betsy showed me was how to do focus mode, which I'm excited to try out, because from within the meeting, if you've got a set on inside of your settings, then, once the meeting starts, you can switch on focus mode, and it's almost like swapping from like meeting mode like this to almost to webinar mode, right? Where it's like, no one interrupt me, I've got something to say. And then at the end, you can switch focus mode back off and go back to like casual chit chat and people can, ask their questions. So I'm excited to try focus mode. I'm excited. I think that's going to be a game changer for me. And then the other thing that I use in my strategy quite a lot is breakout rooms, because, if you want people collaborating, they have to connect. So in all of my programs, I like to give people an opportunity to do what I call speed dating. And we've used it quite a bit since Betsy showed me how to use breakout rooms. So, everyone jumps on the meeting and then I normally just like have it random. So, we break out into pairs or little groups for however long. And then I will just, reset the clock and break everyone out again. And just giving people the opportunity, to meet and get to know each other in a, outside of the Zoom chat, actually have a bit of a conversation has been really good. But yeah, I use breakout rooms a lot now. So I think, and also I use streaming into my Facebook group. So, it's very common inside of my coaching programs that people can't make it to the whatever time I have set for my live training. And often it's just more convenient for them to watch inside of the Facebook group, same as you guys might be watching right now. So just making sure you've got your settings set up correctly so that you can actually stream to your Facebook group was a lesson I learned early on. But that just makes it so much more convenient for people to be able to participate and watch the replays and get involved, even if they can't be on the Zoom live.
Yeah, I've really watched you. That's really why I started these spotlight member presentations or interviews, so to speak, inside this group, because there are so many of you in this group. Some of you are watching right now live, and others are going to watch this back on the replay. And you're all in the same boat. You're like, yeah, I'm using Zoom as well, and this is how I use it for my business. And that's what I would love to hear. And I wanted to bring you to the forefront to talk about what you're doing in your multiple businesses. I mean, you have one business, but you have multiple business ventures, let's call it that. The Kajabi training, which is how I came to know you, and coaching. You're really a fabulous coach. And then from there, like you had mentioned, you collaborated, didn't you, with the fabulous Kimmy Brown, and created a wonderful program called the Heart-Centered Apprentice for people out there who are learning Kajabi and say, hey, you know what? I'm so good at this. I'd like to do this for others. I'd like to be the one to create their Kajabi website, their Kajabi landing pages, their whole system. And I have been blessed to meet one of your Heart-Centered Apprentices, who I work with, Lisa Carroll. So I know very well how well they get trained in there and how talented they are. So, however, we haven't talked about your podcast yet. I know you entered into the world of podcasting. So I know that probably doesn't use Zoom, although you can do it this way. You can record yourself like I'm doing now, and then Zoom has a recording. I actually am making a Zoom recording right now for my future podcast. Did I tell you? It's to come. But tell us about your podcast, if you would.
Yeah, I mean, I became so obsessed with Kajabi that I decided what we needed was a Kajabi-focused podcast called the KajabiVerse. Everything in my life seems to revolve around Kajabi. It's its own universe. So the KajabiVerse podcast. And on the KajabiVerse, I only committed to one episode a month. When you're setting up your podcast and it's like, how often are you going to publish? And it's like, once a week, once a fortnight. And I was like, no, once a month. So that is like the best that I can do, crazy schedules. But none of the episodes really are just me talking. I interview people. I enjoy interviewing people, and I get them in to talk about their favorite funnels that, they've got set up on Kajabi, like what is creating their 6- and 7-figure launches, what kind of funnel are they using? And we really, it's very focused on giving people actionable takeaways. What can they be doing inside their business if they're pretty Kajabi savvy, and what's working for other people. But I don't use Zoom on that. I mean, maybe I could, but I use Riverside for that. It gives me like the separate audio tracks, which I find is quite useful. And then I send those over to my lovely editor, and I don't know what she does with them, but she makes it sound all right.
You mentioned Riverside, and of course I run a tech club, so it's not all about Zoom. Okay, people, it's not all about Zoom. Zoom is this vehicle for us getting to connect, collaborate, and get our message out there. And yes, live streaming, everything you've mentioned so far, but there's so much tech that goes into running our businesses successfully. It's woven into every aspect of our lives. And even in the podcast space, there are a couple of platforms to choose from. So, Riverside is one of them. So I'm sure you have the ability then to take your new venture, Collaboration Station, and with your now podcasting expertise, show people. I mean, that's usually the questions I see people asking, how do I find a guest, or I'm looking for someone to be on? Do you find the same thing, especially in the podcasting world?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's a bit unbalanced. It's usually pretty easy to find guests, but it's quite tricky to get the opportunity to guest on somebody else's podcast. There's often like all the cold pitching and you can spend hours listening to podcast episodes, trying to find like the right podcast that you think you should be on, and then trying to identify the gap, and then writing this cold pitch email and hoping that they get back to you and say, yeah, I'd love to have you on. And if you go about it the right way, then you can absolutely be successful, but it's super time consuming. So that's one of the reasons that Collaboration Station came about, was like, you absolutely can do it, what I call the long way. But is there just not a shortcut where we could just come onto one platform and people who want guests have put their hand up and said, I'm looking for guests, and, people who need summit speakers have advertising their summit with links to apply, and people who are putting together bundles, links to apply, just like one central spot. And so that's what we're busy creating on Collaboration Station, just something where people can just easily find this stuff.
Yeah. And how do people find out about this? We can maybe start talking a little bit about, this is brand new. So if someone out there right now is thinking, well, I have something that I'd like to share with the world, how can I meet these people, and how can I get involved with Collaboration Station, even just to find out about it?
Yeah, I mean, if you want, I can share my screen and show you. But separate to that, I think like one of the easiest ways to get involved is to join us in next week's AbraCollabra. You like that? AbraCollabra? AbraCollabra 4-day challenge, because then everybody in the challenge gets like a free trial listing and they can play around with it. And, it doesn't take very long, just a matter of days to connect with everybody on the platform and start these collaborations in motion. So that's where I would start, getting involved in the AbraCollabra 4-day challenge. Plenty of guests coming along, and we're going to deep dive into all of my favorite collaboration strategies for complete beginners who have no audience.
Yeah, I have to say, and I would love for you to show whatever you have so that people attending either live right now, we have some people live. So say, if you are here with us live, say so, tell us who you are. And if you have a question, please put that in the comments. While Meg just brings up the, I guess, the information about AbraCollabra, it's like magic. I say she waves her magic wand and magically collaborations appear. And actually, I don't want to bring too much humor to that, because actually, in all seriousness, I ask Meg a lot of these questions, and I often say, well, what do you mean by that? For instance, and as she goes into very patiently with me, more detail about who I could possibly be matched up with and who in the database already would be a great collaboration for me. So I am right there with all of you I've heard of collaboration. Okay, I know what it means to collaborate. I teach people how to collaborate in Google Docs. When you're collaborating, you're all in there together, right? So this concept, to me, I needed to ask more questions. So if you're like me out there and you've got some questions, please put them in the comments right now with us live. We'll answer them live. If you're watching this back on the replay, I'm here on the replay, and put the question in, and we're going to attend to that. Meg is here. She's here. Actually, when we end this live event, she's here with us all week answering your questions. Guess what?
Am
Meg?
I? Okay, good to know.
I just offered you
all week.
Well, you're a member in the group, so that's why. I just offered up all of your time all week. So
no worries, guys. All right. So this is the AbraCollabra challenge. I tried to get the AbraCollabra custom domain, but somebody already had it. I hate it when they do that. They save all the good domains and then they never use them. So maybe one day I can buy that from somebody. But day one of the challenge, we've got Matt McWilliams coming in. So he is known as the affiliate guy. He's trained over 300,000 people in affiliate programs, and he's run affiliate programs for people like Stu McLaren and trained teams from all sorts of big companies. So he knows a thing or two about affiliate marketing, and he's going to come in and talk to us about that. Day 2, we have got what I'm calling mini summit day. So over the last couple of weeks, I recorded interviews with all of these people about their favorite collaboration strategies. And then on day 2 of the summit, we're going to dive into 3 of my favorite strategies, which is going to be joint webinars and bundles and be the bonus. I love the be the bonus strategy. So we're going to look at those in depth on day 2. Then we've got Pam, lovely lawyer Pam, coming in from the Step Up Network to cover off the legalities of collaboration so that you're protecting your IP. You'll see in my emails if you register that I refer to day 3 as the boring bits, but they're very, very important. So definitely put some time aside to listen to the important stuff. And then day 4, we'll wrap it up with a collaboration roadmap. Anybody who's participating inside of the training will get a listing over on Collaboration Station. Collaboration Station itself looks like this. So from the homepage, you can come along and decide what niche you're in, and then what kind of collaboration opportunity you're looking for, and click search. And you'll be able to bring up all the listings. If you're not a member, you can't click into the listings, but you'll be able to see who's on there already. And then we've got various categories that people can list into. So straight affiliate opportunities, podcasting, summits, bundles, lots of stuff. Lots of training inside of Collaboration Station. So we've got lots of things on the agenda coming up. And you'll find a link, Betsy will give you guys a link to AbraCollabra if you would like to join us over there. Members inside a Collaboration Station can have a look at any of the collab events that are listed on the collab calendar. So there are currently a couple of summits open for speakers, and you'll see there that's when applications close. So the Health and Wellness Summit closes May 31st, and this is a wedding summit. The other things on here right now are bundles, people who are looking for contributors into their bundles of digital products. You'll be able to see the various training events that are coming up, and I've got a couple more to add. So speaking of Facebook ads, I need to add Liz Melville and her Facebook ads training onto here. And then I've got all those from the AbraCollabra day 2, where I've got mini summit day, and I recorded those 10 interviews. Obviously, I'm not going to make people sit through those 10 interviews with me live. But if you are looking for some inspiration as far as collaboration strategies go, I would strongly suggest coming over and having a listen to the case studies. Everybody on Collaboration Station gets their own listing, so you can see if audience size is important. You can see that, what is it that they specialize in? Do they have an affiliate program? How have they structured it? How do you connect with them? Everybody gets the profile. And then from the back end of your profile, you can go and, create collaboration events if you're putting together a summit or putting together a bundle, and not everybody's dashboard looks like this. I've got a few more options than you guys have, but you can absolutely put your own collaboration events up, put your own case studies up, and also put up any paid offers for the other members. That's an overview, Betsy, my 2-minute overview of the platform, but definitely start with joining us in the AbraCollabra challenge, because it's going to be lots of fun and a massive week as always.
Excellent 2-minute overview of that. And I know that you're using Zoom as your platform for this training event, which many people do. They use they create these challenges. Zoom is it is so user friendly. So for you to put the link out there, once people register, all they have to do is join, and then they're going to be able to hear all these great speakers that you have coming in. So, and like you mentioned earlier, that focus mode is a way that you can have us attend and not necessarily be on camera the whole time. However, it's like a little switch. You can turn it on and turn it off. And that way, when you want us to be on camera and then be able to network with one another, you can it's like the best of both worlds in there, as opposed to, if any of you have ever attended a webinar in Zoom, for instance, you are completely off camera and off microphone, and you have a chat, but oftentimes the chat just is way too chaotic sometimes to even follow or connect. And, collaboration is all about connection, being able to talk with someone, and a breakout room's perfect for that. So I'm glad you're rolling it out that way.
Yeah, it's going to be good. We've got a couple of networking sessions as well as the training. So on Tuesday after the training, people can come along for speed dating and we'll break out into pairs. And then on Wednesday, we've got collab strategy deep dives. So the breakout rooms will be on a specific topic like summits. Don't think we'll do podcasts this one, but summits, bundles, joint webinars, setting up your affiliate program. And there'll be a guest expert looking after each breakout room, and people can just choose the breakout room that's of the most interest and move around if they, want to.
Yeah. And what's great is I'm sure once they register, they can, well, tell me, I don't want to say what they get, but in order for someone listening right now you just showed what the database looks like. Once someone registers for the free training, do they get information about how to see the database?
They get all the information. So the free listings, I will probably send everyone a link to that at the end of day one, I think. But if people do want to unlock a extra long listing straight away so that they can get started, then I've set it up that if you are kind enough to share the training on Facebook with your network, then the very next screen you see is like an automated unlock of an extra long listing that starts immediately. So if people want to help me spread the word, that's how I'm rewarding them.
That's fun. That's what collaboration is all about, because little did I know that inside your brain was this connection.
It's a lot of gin.
A lot of people don't know that about you, which you're just revealing.
I thought about turning up today with a gin and tonic, like it is my 4:30, but I chose not to.
It is. Actually, did we say that you're coming to us right now from the Netherlands? You are originally from Australia. I believe I put your profile in at least the caption of this event. But yeah, so this is why I normally do these spotlight member events at a little bit later Eastern time. It's we're time zone wise in Europe, it's a little bit later there. So yeah, showing up with a gin and tonic, that would have been apropos for you. But no, what I was going to say is your brain is filled with this unique ability to know when you talk to us and then you say, well, you know what, as you look off into like Never Never Land, and then you come back and you say, you should really get together with so-and-so. And, I think that's maybe why this new venture came about. Would you say so as well, that that's really something you enjoy doing? You love bringing us all together, don't you?
I do. It's I think a lot of people, especially in the collaboration space, they get stuck on like one strategy, like I love summits, so I'm just going to go on the summit circuit and speak at like every single summit, or I'm just going to go and contribute to like every single bundle, and that's like their thing. But I think when you really get masterful at collaborating, you have to be able to go into every conversation with a potential collaborator with a very open mind, like flexibility around, well, how can I best help this person? What are they looking for? How can I best help their audience? And there might be someone you want to collaborate with who doesn't want to have anything to do with summits or bundles, So I like coming up with new collaboration strategies just on the spot after I listen to what it is they're actually trying to achieve.
That's terrific. You're very good at it. And a bundle, for instance, I'm always the one in Meg's ear saying, that doesn't make sense to me. And I do bring a little bit of humor to it, but in all seriousness, it helps those out there who are in a space where they're like, oh, I know that would be good. I want to get together with someone else to be a joint venture, for instance, or collaborate. Because if we put what you do really well with what I do really well together, it's better for our audiences. And then it brings both audiences together. So as I say it out loud, it's like, that's a no-brainer. But in order to figure out what it should be and what is in that bundle. So it's from both sides. It's the person who made the bundle and it's like, well, now how do I find the people who would be great to know about it? And then it's on my end, which is like, well, how do I find the things that are meant for me that I can really offer? And aside from just watching my social feed all the time, so I can see in these business groups, I will do that. If someone says something, I'm like, oh, I would be perfect for that because I know that really well. And see, this just puts it in the forefront because it's a space. That's it. It's a networking space where we all come together.
I was thinking about it the other day. I was like, it's a little bit like LinkedIn, but just easier filtering, just with a collab focus. But yeah, I'm excited for it, Betsy. I think it's going to be good. There's good feedback so far from everyone who's on there. So we're enjoying it.
Yeah, we're all linked. And actually, it more specifically, everyone there is for the same purpose. So like people show up on LinkedIn, like, I don't know about you, but I get a lot of messages on LinkedIn that are not about, collaborating. So in this case, everyone here is there for the same reason. So it makes that even better. So I'm excited. I can't wait to see you next week in the training. Actually, I'm going to take the training, of course. Got to get myself registered.
Haven't quite worked out the content yet, but it'll be great. It's lots of fun. The best bit is just the connecting, like I hope even for we've already had hundreds of registrants that I say in my emails, like if you can't make it to all the trainings, which of course nobody can, if you have to choose between the training and the networking, come to the networking. Like that is really where it's at. Yeah,
that makes sense because I would tell everybody else, don't miss it for anything in the world. Don't miss it because you pass this by and it's very true. You meet that one person that you connect with and it turns into something that otherwise would not have happened. And then, you see yourself like us 2-3 years later. And I think back, none of this would have happened if I hadn't, met you. So I would tell everybody, come on in. Definitely. So would you say there is, I know now I've got my marching orders. I got to make sure you get onto your recording on time, that this ends straight away, as you say. Is there something that we haven't talked about yet that you would want to make sure everybody knows, at least about your businesses at this point and how you use Zoom to
I think we can't jump off, Betsy, without talking about the best Zoom feature.
Which is
the Zoom touch up my appearance. And it's funny because I got on here and I said, Betsy, I was up late last night watching the Formula One. Like it was on in Miami, so Dutch time is quite late and we love Formula One. So we stayed up till like past 11 to watch it, which is way past my bedtime. And I said, apologies that I look a bit tired. And she said, you looked tired the other day, actually. And I was like, when? She said, yeah, in your video. I was like, which video? And then I said, was it like a reel on Instagram? And she's like, yeah. And I was like, that's because it didn't have Zoom touch up my appearance. It was just like on my phone. And I thought, oh my goodness, I just can't survive now without the touch up my appearance to kind of make me look like I have a natural complexion and am not exhausted.
Yes. Yeah. And first of all, leave it to a good friend to be honest and say, actually, yeah, recently you did look tired. First of all, and then second of all, for those of you out there who are wondering how to use touch up my appearance, just leave that in the comments and I will show you how to do that because it's a fabulous feature that you simply just set it and forget it. And what we are speaking of is when we get off of Zoom and we are leaving video testimonials for people, or you're recording yourself on your phone for social media. And all of a sudden you go, do I look like that? Is that what I look like? Because Zoom touches up my appearance. So yeah,
I think Zoom's absolutely, going to be the driver of a midlife crisis for me because every now and again I look in the mirror and I'm like, do I really look like that? That's not how I look on Zoom, of which I spend several hours a day.
And I have to say, many people here. So I was going to say, in addition to, yes, touch up our appearance, which is really the best Zoom feature. The other place that we look fabulous is in Sedona. And many people who are in this group do know, they see my main personal feed as well. I don't think I shared any of them in here, but many people have said, because I was on video with Meg, and we had those golden mountains behind us, the rock formations. I mean, So either it's going to be touch up my appearance, or if we're going to video ourselves from the phone, we'll do it from Sedona. So hands down, we have that settled. We have that settled. So anyway, I thank you very much for coming in and being our guest speaker today. I am thrilled that we were able to do it here, and I can't wait to see you next week in your AbraCollabra 4-day free training event. Can't wait.
Exciting. Oh, thank you for having me on, and I hope to see some of the friendly faces here as well next week. It's always good, you know, to have some friendly faces in the audience when you run these events. Like I've run heaps of them and I still get nervous. So I always appreciate when friends turn up on my Zoom calls.
Yes. And as we know, it'll be recorded. So we love it when we can, which I always try to do, show up live. And I know you're wondering, Betsy, are you going to be there live? Betsy, are you going to be there? It's a Zoom. Are you going to be there? I think I can. I have not told you that, but they're recorded. So get registered. As I always tell people, get registered. And there's always that chance to learn it because it's recorded. So that's fabulous. So thanks, Meg.
Thanks, Betsy.
Now
thanks, everybody.
Get on to your next appointment. And thank you, everybody, for attending. We didn't have too many questions live. So we'll pay attention to this as the recording will stay here in the group and just talk about collaborating. It's really this group of people that you are at the center of, and we're so lucky enough to get to know. So if you don't have that yet, come on in and join us, right?
I have ChatGPT, but I never log in, Betsy. It's one of those, I'm just sticking my head in the sand, but I am going to one day pull my head out of the sand and figure out what it's all about.
Yeah. And I would just say, just on that note for a minute, don't think of it as something so big. It's new. It is like you just bought a new vehicle. And it's like when Zoom came along, you know, it's brand new and you're like, I don't want to jump in. But all you did is you jumped in and you got yourself on camera. It's with ChatGPT, there's so much that it can do. But if you just jump in and get one thing for it to do for you, just like another tool, that's what I would recommend, because it is extremely helpful that way in terms of generating ideas. It's really good at generating.
Some of my students in Funnel Club are using it for their webinar scripts, all their email sequences, their Facebook ads. I'm like, oh my goodness. I always fall back to thinking it's better if I write it myself. You know, like it'll sound more authentic if I write it myself.
I think in the end, it is. And if you are going to sit down to write and it flows right out of you, go for it. If you are in the mode where you're thinking, now, what would I say for that? You know, what would be the top 10 things that someone would want? If you're just hesitating for more than one or two moments, go open it up and ask little ChatGPT that same question. And sometimes it comes back, it's like, oh my gosh, that's a really good idea. And then you still end up writing it, but it's that it gets you going. It generates that motivation, inspiration sometimes, because it's just scanning the whole internet for, you know, things that you might have Googled anyway. So, and if you are out there wanting to be a Spotlight member who tells us all about your business venture here in the Zoom Experts Q&A group, let me know. And I'll
you should post that on Collaboration Station, Betsy. People can find you.
Okay, I will.
Yeah.
Done. Thanks, Meg.
All right, guys.
All right.
Good to
Take care.
Bye.
Bye, everybody.